Once again, welcome to Humaflix. In Our Prime, a drama movie from 2022, is what I'll be showing you today. Spoilers ahead. Han Ji-woo struggles to fit in at the most exclusive high school in South Korea, where the 1% congregates. Even in math, which is regarded as the most crucial subject to go into college, he is one level below the bottom of the class here, surrounded by geniuses. He used to be the sharpest student in his old, modest school. His peers can afford tutors and boot camps because they are wealthy, but Ji-woo is on student assistance and cannot. These grades won't be sufficient for entry into a prominent institution. His math instructor Mr. Kim Gun-ho warns him, urging Ji-woo to think about transferring. Roommates Woo's offer him money one night so he may go out and buy beer and munchies for everyone. However, Ji-woo is apprehended by night watchman Lee Hak-sung as he makes his way home. The next morning, Mr. Kim attempts to get him to reveal who else was involved in this scheme, but Ji-woo cherishes loyalty and refuses. His classmate Park Boram notices this, but he is also momentarily expelled from the dorms as a result. After class, his roommates want to thank him with a gift of cash, but they are startled to see that Ji-woo declines because they are friends. However, since Hak-sung began serving as a guard, it has been hard to smuggle in late-night munchies via alternative channels. Because he is a North Korean defector, they refer to him as the commie officer. Later, Hak-sung visits his doctor, who informs him that working as a night guard is bad for his health and that using sleeping tablets frequently throws off his biorhythm. If the doctor can't get him a job someplace else, Hak-sung reminds him that it's the only job he can obtain as a defector, therefore he'll take the drugs. Hak-sung leaves and goes back to his solitary apartment where he spends his time feeding his turtle, sipping strawberry milk, and working Sudoku puzzles. The next day, Ji-woo is expelled from the residences. On his way out, Boram makes fun of him by stating that she had hoped he may be more than just a loser, but it appears she was mistaken. Ji-woo returns to his family's apartment a few hours later and cleans it up before his mother gets home from work. Being a widow who has always put forth a lot of effort to raise him, she is really delighted to see her son wearing such a significant outfit. Ji-woo claims that he simply came to see her and that he has to rush back to the school before it is too late because he lacks the courage to tell her that he needs a place to stay. On his way home, it starts to rain, so Ji-woo attempts to hide in the school's abandoned lab, but Hak-sung discovers him. The guard extends an invitation for Ji-woo to return to his office after learning that he has nowhere to stay. Hak-sung discovers Ji unfinished Woo's extremely difficult math homework when he is dozing off. When the light comes up, Hak-sung sends Ji-woo outside. When the boy arrives at his math lesson, he is startled to see that Hak-sung has completed his homework and that all the answers are accurate. Ji-woo is asked to remain silent after Boram observes this and requests that she show the teacher. Ji-woo approaches Hak-sung after class to express his gratitude and request instruction, but Hak-sung just expels him once more. Later at the study area, Ji-woo overhears that some of these math problems are difficult for even the private tutors of his classmates, demonstrating how exceptional Hak-sung is. Ji-woo begins to follow him around and begs to be instructed, but Hak-sung ignores him. Hak-sung overhears the instructors discussing welfare pupils with uncaring parents and inferior complexes. One day as he is emptying the garbage, Mr. Kim names Ji-woo on the list. When Ji-woo approaches him to request instruction once more, Hak-sung advises him to transfer, and that having self-pity is not something you should do since it causes you to get hooked on tragedy. Hak-sung agrees to instruct Ji-woo after hearing him describe how furious it makes him that others have opportunities he cannot, on the condition that Ji-woo pays him with strawberry milk. The following day, Hak-sung goes to see his buddy in Gi-chul, who assisted him in coming to South Korea, because he serves as Seoul's lead for supporting North Korean defectors. Gi-chul gives Hak-sung the lights he needed as a present, but Hak-sung insists on paying for them because he didn't come to this nation for charity. Together, they play board games and talk about life. Hak-sung installs the bulbs in the deserted lab as night comes, so that he may educate Ji-woo there covertly. Ji-woo is required to abide by 3 rules. First, no one should know of these classes. Second, no queries other than math, and third, Hak-sung will teach math but he doesn't want to hear about grades or examinations. Ji-woo is given the first exercise, calculating the area of a triangle, after promising to abide by all the regulations. Ji-woo solves it fast and notes that it is a middle school issue, but Hak-sung corrects him by circling the triangle completely. Ji-woo feels duped and believes it's unfair since Hak-sung asked him the wrong question, but Hak-sung is trying to make a point about how he's going about fixing problems. Finding the solution is crucial, but what's more crucial is comprehending the question itself. Finding a solution is the core concept of mathematics. Hak-sung refers to the idea as epsilon, when Ji-woo demonstrates comprehension of it, as he recalls receiving a fine pen as a reward for their academic prowess when they were younger. Epsilon is a Greek letter that means little, inconsequential even. Since Ji-woo still doesn't have a place to go after class, Hak-sung lets him remain with him. Ji-woo learns that Hak-sung enjoys listening to classical music on an ancient tape player, so they have a brief conversation about classical composers, to divert Ji queries Woo's regarding Hak-sung's history. The songs are played on Ji phone Woo's because the cassette is outdated, and has poor sound quality. Hak-sung is fascinated by the music and gets a good night's sleep for the first time in a long time. The next morning, he doesn't get out of bed until after midnight, and when he does, Ji-woo has already departed for class. For his math class, Mr. Kim has some big news. Instead of final exams, his group will compete in the famous Pythagoras math competition, which will count as their grade. Even though they only have 2 months to prepare, Mr. Kim expects all of the teenagers to take home the gold. Every day Ji-woo visits Hak-sung for math lessons, and Boram starts to notice how frequently Ji-woo buys strawberry milk, almost as if he were an addict. One evening, Ji-woo is given a particularly challenging task to complete, but Hak-sung reveals that he expects him to manually tally up all the answers. Ji-woo finally solves it after 3 hours, so Hak-sung shows him something special. Renowned mathematician Bernhard Riemann calculated the square root of 2's 38 decimal places by hand in order to become familiar with the solving procedure, which is impossible to do by simply memorizing a formula. When it comes to having a better knowledge of math, this is quite beneficial. Ji assignment Woo's will be to figure it out on his own because it is a mathematician's responsibility, therefore Hak-sung declines to inform him if his response is correct or incorrect. Every day, Ji Math Woo's abilities get better as the weeks go by. He learns some heartbreaking news one afternoon. A close friend and fellow welfare student is returning to his former school, acknowledging that coming here was never worthwhile. Currently, Ji-woo has to reflect on his own circumstance. Boram attempts to listen to him, but he feels as though she is making fun of him by claiming that they are in the same scenario despite the fact that she is also an affluent child. When Mother Ram arrives to fetch her up, their talk is cut short. Boram gets reprimanded for hanging out with a welfare kid when they get in the car, even though she is legally on assistance herself because of her divorced parents. However, because she is not receiving financial help, it is not the same as being on welfare. Additionally, Mother Ram chastises her for listening to piano music because she wants her to focus on her schoolwork. As a result, she illegally hired Mr. Kim to be Private Ram's teacher. She asks if she may visit sometimes after thanking Hak-sung for caring for Ji-woo, and Hak-sung agrees as long as she does the same. Boram also refers to him as a commie officer, which perplexes Hak-sung because, while being from North Korea, he has never been in the military. He was excused for a motive he doesn't care to explain. They then catch sight of several students sneaking about campus, but Hak-sung decides not to intervene after learning what happened to Ji-woo the last time. One night as to why he worked so hard on his math studies. According to him, he initially did it for the scholarship and the benefit of his family, but as he learned more about it, the more beautiful he found it to be, the more he fell in love with it. Then, they ask Boram to join Hak-sung at the piano so he can show her a fun little trick. By giving each digit a different note, the two of them can play the number pi and create a lovely song. Ji-woo uses the reasoning Hak-sung taught him on improper questions to correct Mr. Kim's response to an exercise during the following math class. However, Mr. Kim chastises him for it, saying that while the response may be accurate, it was not what the examiner had in mind, and that is the only concern the students should have, providing the anticipated response rather than the accurate one. It's all about the testing procedure, but Ji-woo rejects this and asserts that he will still provide the correct response on the exam. As a result of his impolite behavior, Mr. Kim makes him wait outside the classroom for the remainder of the lesson. Ji-woo then lets Mr. Kim know that he isn't moving. Gi-chul gives Hak-sung a smartphone so he can be located on one of his trips in the afternoon. Ji-woo notices Hak-sung is reading lengthy theses on this little screen when he subsequently displays it to him with joy. Ji-woo offers to help by getting a student to help him sneak into the computer lab, so he may print the whole thing and give it to Hak-sung. The Pythagoras test is the next day. Hak-sung is helping Ji-woo tremendously, and while Boram begins by recalling the melody, she quickly becomes upset. She succumbs to pressure and leaves the classroom without finishing the exam. To save her from embarrassment, her mother forces her to stay at home while lying to her school about their impending vacation. All of Ji texts woos to her are returned unread. Ji-woo and Hak-sung attend a classical performance in the evening thanks to complimentary tickets Boram obtained for them thanks to the support of her family's business. At least Hak-sung is brought to tears by it, even though Boram never shows up. When Hak-sung invites Ji-woo to supper at his home later, Ji-woo realizes that this is the first time he has ever seen Hak-sung consume food. The Pythagoras test is leaked that same night and posted online, generating problems for the teachers who now have to track down the kid responsible if they don't want to be fired by the education board. While browsing at a bookshop with Ji-woo and Hak-sung, a passerby recognized Hak-sung. This man, who is also from North Korea, addresses Hak-sung as doctor, recalling the time when Hak-sung was a professor at the institution he formerly attended. They are placed in an unpleasant situation since the guy refers to Hak-sung as the great mathematics genius and believes Ji-woo is his son. After giving the man a sincere thank you for the memories, Hak-sung hurries out the door without responding to Ji inquiries. Woos. When he comes home, Hak-sung reminisces about the fun moments he used to have with his son Lee Taeyeon, including their dinner dates, his trips to retrieve the turtle, and his purchases of strawberry milk, which was Tae's favorite. Yun's. The Riemann hypothesis, one of the most significant mathematical puzzles, is about to be solved by a prominent North Korean named Lee Hak-sung, according to some significant news that airs on television the next day. Up until this point, it has been under evaluation by a board of academics. On television, Professor Oh recounts how, as a youngster, he competed in a math Olympiad and met Hak-sung, who represented the North while Oh represented the South. A renowned mathematician gave them each a nice pen, and Oh still has it today. Both Gi-chul and Ji-woo are aware of the news, but Ji-woo is the one who seeks out Hak-sung first to inquire about it. Hak-sung berates him and orders him never to bring up the Riemann hypothesis anymore. In the meantime, Mr. Kim is struggling with the exam event since his image is at stake, but he finds rescue when a coworker analyzes the surveillance footage after a student spread falsehoods. The next day, Mr. Kim contacts Ji-woo to show him the tape of him leaving the computer lab undetected while holding several printed documents. Although Ji-woo tries to argue that the two are unconnected, he is unable to do so. No one will believe him because of the audio proof, and the fact that he somehow improved his arithmetic skills in a matter of months, so Mr. Kim makes a deal with him: if he accepts the move, he won't admit fault. Unfortunately, the allegations that Ji-woo was the one who leaked continue to spread, and Boram becomes. Gi-chul is also experiencing some difficulties. The niche wants Gi-chul to get Hak-sung to come on television to address issues since North Korea is upset that the South is using Hak discoveries, Sung's especially given that they are connected to military cryptography. Now that Hak name Sung is well known, an old friend even pays him a visit to persuade him to accompany him back to the North. When he reveals that he is asking because bringing Hak-sung would also win him forgiveness, he trips up and only succeeds in infuriating him by bringing up what happened to his kid. Hak-sung is visited by Gi-chul, who is sorry that he couldn't hold the niche at bay. Despite this, Hak-sung is nevertheless appreciative of the years of protection. Gi-chul gives Hak-sung the document containing his study, which he tried to throw away years before, but Gi-chul preserved it since it was too important to be thrown away, as he packs to leave town. Ji-woo also arrives at that time, but when he hears screaming, he chooses to remain outside. Hak Sung is furious since it was this study that made him lose his kid, thus he won't show it on television. Ji-woo tries to talk to Hak Sung after Gi-chul has left, but the elderly man just lashes out at him and won't acknowledge that they are anything more than teacher and pupil. After that, Ji-woo receives a call from a frustrated Boram who questions why he's allowing them to frame him in this way. However, he just informs her that the call is finished and hangs up. In the meantime, Hak Sung arrives at the bus terminal and starts to recall the night Taeyeon passed away when he believes he saw his son's face on an unidentified stranger. Taeyeon began arguing with his father after getting into another altercation for standing up for other defectors, accusing him of making the trip to the south out of selfish motives, because he didn't do so when his mother was suffering from illness. Taeyeon argued that performing entry-level jobs and being treated like dirt was far from a better life for a scholar, despite Hak insistence songs that he did it to provide his kid a better life. Taeyeon fled and attempted to swim back to the north, but he was shot by a border guard on sight after hoping for his father to enjoy his life with just math as a companion. When Ji-woo is sleeping, he sneaks into his house to use her mother's stamp on the transfer paperwork. He gives Mr. Kim the paperwork the next morning, and Mr. Kim informs him that he made the correct decision. Hak Sung receives a call from Boram informing him of Ji transfer Woo when he is hiding out in a hotel while Gi-chul looks for him to take him to the TV program. The Pythagoras Award presentation takes place that afternoon. Ji-woo is about to leave the school when Boram enters, unexpectedly, and takes him to the auditorium by robbing his belongings. Hak Sung chooses to disrupt Professor Oh's opening remarks regarding the recently validated hypothesis since he has just hurried over to the school after releasing his turtle on the river. He shows Professor Oh his pen as identification, and she accepts him warmly and gives him permission to speak as well. Hak Sung, after making a joke about his duties as a guard, admits that he was the one who taught Ji-woo arithmetic and offers the written thesis as evidence that he didn't reveal the results of the exam. Additionally, he says that Mr. Kim was the one who told his private pupils about the test, which makes Mr. Kim flee indignant and ashamed. Hak Sung then briefly tells his own experience, explaining that he fled to North Korea to study mathematics properly because his own country was utilizing his expertise to develop weapons. He wants to utilize his math skills to gain employment and get into prestigious institutions, but his selfishness caused his kid to die. Hak Sung feels bad about his decisions, but Ji-woo never thought that way about him and remained devoted to keeping his secret all the way through, even if it meant jeopardizing his future. After apologizing and thanking Ji-woo for believing in him while sobbing, Hak Sung orders Gi-chul to depart without even inquiring about the television interview. He does, however, wait outside for Hak Sung and offers to drive him. Gi-chul gives Hak Sung a surprise after discarding the smartphone he had given him, a new, legitimate passport designating Hak Sung as a South Korean citizen, and tickets for him to depart the city so the niche can't track him for a time. Gi-chul believes it's worthwhile even though he'll probably get fired for it. Later, Gi-chul pays a visit to Ji-woo to deliver the present Hak Sung left for him, which includes the renowned pen and the initial version of his thesis. Ji-woo and his college students pay a visit to the esteemed Oberwolfach Research Institute for Mathematics 3 years later. Now that Hak Sung is employed there, Ji-woo greets him with some strawberry milk and a hug before starting a lengthy conversation on arithmetic. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification button, so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.